In your politics this morning, the U.S. Senate voted to advance a bill that would address the surge in hate crimes against Asian Americans. It's a signal of broad bipartisan support for an issue that's tearing into the Asian community. But despite growing attention toward anti-Asian crimes, our Nguyen shows us how difficult it actually is to classify a crime as a hate crime in the second special report of her series, Racism Doesn't Belong.
It was here, on this sidewalk outside his business, where Nguyen was attacked.
Trying to put this sign away, get ready to close, and he walked out.
A man holding a stolen bottle of wine, which he turned quickly into a weapon.
I was right here. I told him, give me a bottle back, and he hit my face. I felt right there.
The force knocked Nguyen down to his knees, where he tore the ligaments in his left leg. Nguyen says attacks both physically and verbally happen to him often, many of them racially motivated.
A lot of racial slangs, and they say, go back to China. They use the word chink. I get upset, but, what can I do? There's nothing I can do. I can confront them, fight with it, but it doesn't solve anything.
For an incident to be classified as a hate crime, the motive of the crime needs to be prejudice or bias beyond a reasonable doubt, in which the District of Columbia's Metropolitan Police Department admits it can be difficult for prosecutors to prove in court. Any hate speech is not a hate crime, regardless of how offensive it may be.
An Asian piece of shit.
Oh my! But recent high-profile cases like this one in California spark escalating public outrage. In February, a Filipino man's face was slashed on a New York subway. In April, a Chinese mother in Riverside County was walking her dogs when she was stabbed to death. What these cases have in common, they're unprovoked, yet authorities have concluded they're not racially motivated because racial slurs were not said to the victims. But as the first Chinese-American woman in Congress, Representative Judy Chu says that is absolutely wrong. She points to the Atlanta shooting where 6 Asian women were gunned down and says the murderers' actions scream that this was motivated by hate, but in this case and thousands like it, police may be reluctant to classify it as a hate crime because the killer said this was not. In order to truly address this problem, we need local law enforcement to know how to identify bias-motivated crimes. Stop AAPI Hate has received 3,800 reports of anti-Asian instances since the start of the pandemic, but only a fraction of these were actually reported. If a crime is classified as a hate crime, penalties are elevated. In Oakland and New York, where rates have jumped, officials recently appointed Asian liaison units or officers to encourage community relations and incident reporting. In the district, this unit has been around since 1996. Lieutenant David Hong says he believes it's in part due to their outreach that the nation's capital's rate of anti-Asian crimes is at a low 3 reported incidents in 2020 and 0 in 2021.
It's great to hear that the other police departments in the nation are creating these liaison units, and it just helps bridge the gap between the Asian community and the police.
Last year, at the start of the pandemic, MPD added 3 more officers of Asian descent to the unit, including Michael Kim.
I'm trying to visit all the business owners or people to make them comfortable, and if they have a language barrier, I'm trying to listen to their problem and trying to help them out.
Kim regularly visits Nguyen's store, and while Nguyen says he's grateful, he hopes for even more patrol. Many advocates and lawmakers agree.
A real problem.
A bill currently being considered in Congress would equip law enforcement with more guidance on how to address hate crimes while expanding data collection. It would also dedicate a Department of Justice official to prioritize hate crime investigations.
Our community is bleeding. We are in pain, and for the last year, we've been screaming out for help.
As Asian Americans face a potential breaking point with brutal attacks and economic collapse, advocates like actor Daniel Day Kim say we need to rise together.
We are 23 million strong. We are united. And we are waking up.
With more empowerment comes more reporting and more awareness. Only then will courage and solutions arise. Nguyen's case is not currently considered a hate crime, but MPD says they will closely examine any new information. Advocates say oftentimes the Asian community is targeted for appearing weaker or more vulnerable.
I forgive them, but I try not to think about it. We're still a people. We're people, we're the same as them. So they can treat us with the respect. That's what I'm hoping for.
As he limps back to his cherished store he runs with his wife, Nguyen says he just hopes the foul language and rise in vicious attacks will come to an end.
Senseless attacks aren't the only issue concerning the Asian American community. In a new study, we learned that 90% of small Asian-owned businesses took a revenue hit last year, a rate more than other racial or ethnic groups. In Kwan's case, the suspect was caught shortly after that incident, and he was charged with theft and assault.
Such a powerful series of reports. Thank you, Em. If people watching this want to help in the movement, what can they do?
Well, you know, Giselle, Asian Americans are the fastest growing racial group in the United States. And so if you want to do your part, advocates say there are several things you can do. First, you can volunteer your time to help the elders in your community, in your neighborhood. Go out for a walk, go exercise, go grab some groceries. You can also embolden your family and friends to report incidents if they encounter them or if they see them. You can also join bystander intervention training so that if you see something happen, you can intervene with keeping yourself safe as well as others. You can also educate yourself on the Asian American history here in the United States. And of course, the last thing you can do that doesn't take that much time, Giselle, is to join in on the surge of donations to the Asian American groups and organizations all across the nation. Giselle.
All rising up in one voice. Thank you so much, Em. Terrific reporting, and we will be right back.